per client are adequate.
Oh,
is it?
Hold on.
Is it the last question?
Hold on.
If this is it, I'm gonna love it. Oh, let's see.
Let's see.
How perfect is that? Yes.
It's not gonna like confetti bomb or something, is
Oh
it?
man, if I was smarter, I would have totally done that because that would have been perfect timing. A first. That would have been a first on the blip.
Look.
Yes.
Look what just came in. Dude, the timing on this. That's perfect.
Yes.
All right. Let's swap this out here.
Oh my God. Look how good that looks.
Look at
Look
this.
how, dude,
I like this.
You have a CDL?
Hey everybody, welcome to the BLIP podcast where we help agents build successful agencies. Today I've got Cameron Pechia on with me. He's a partner at All Lines Insurance and Valley Trucking Insurance. And so we're going to get into our discussion in just a second. But if you have not yet subscribed or left a review or a comment, please do so. Doing that really helps us reach more people. That's why we do this. We truly want to help people build successful agencies. You know, we don't just do this to have fun, really have a purpose behind it. And so you doing that can be your part to actually push this out and get it into more people's ears. So with that being said, Cameron, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Josh, absolute pleasure, man. I'm excited to be on here. You've got a great lineup prior to me too, so I'm very humbled to be invited. And I think there's going to be a lot of fun today, so it'll be good.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, love the hat, by the way.
Before we, of course, you can't get on. And actually, there's a story to that which we'll get to at the end too.
Yes.
Which, if you hold out long enough, you get invited to be on the show. That forces some things to happen. But before we get into that, though, I almost had to decline you because you put out in public on a podcast, you don't like barbecue food.
Dude.
And I'm like, oh, that's a killer. But
okay. Hold on, let me clarify.
Okay.
Let me clarify. Okay, so I love food that is barbecued. Okay, I love food that is barbecued. But if I go get barbecue, you know, like a barbecue sandwich, or you go to a spot, it's like, oh, this is the barbecue spot where you get like, whatever, the coleslaw and the greens and like all that kind of stuff.
Traditional.
I'm like, it's okay. But like a steak on the grill, 100%.
Your money. And you're from Seattle or Northwest too, right?
Yeah. From Seattle.
But close enough. So then I was going to follow up with, okay, so what food do you like? Because you left us on this cliff of, I don't like barbecue. So what's Josh's go-to?
So if I could just pick any meal at any point, it would be just a fat steak. I don't need sides. I don't need anything else. Just give me a nice, thick, well-cooked
just a meat
slab of meat. Pick that thing up and eat it. I love it. I love meat.
Okay, and we're back on. We can continue.
All right.
The other stipulation I almost had, so I went fishing with Josh down in Tampa Bay.
That was fun.
He busted out a tank top. He looks like a UFC fighter. Those guns are no joke.
What? Get out of here, dude.
Yeah, I was tatted up, man, just looking awesome.
More to come, maybe. We'll see. I might get a couple more. We'll see. Perfect. But well, thank you. So let's get into this here. Why don't you give everyone who's listening a little bit of background history on you? Like, how'd you get into insurance? How long you been doing this? What's your role right now?
Yeah, well, like anyone, everyone grew up wanting to be an insurance agent, so I'm no exception there. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's obviously not true, and it's kind of cliche. It's regurgitated, I'm sure, probably through every podcast you have.
Dude, it's so funny. Like literally nobody thinks I want to go be an insurance agent. Like nobody.
But then after you do it, you're like, what else could I do? There's no.
Absolutely. It's the best job in the world, dude. Jason Cass says it all the time.
I love
best profession.
Oh, it's amazing. So back in 2007, I was let's see, 21 at the time. Me and one of my best friends through high school actually had a vending machine company where you put the little candy machines out.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you here.
Okay,
because that is super intriguing to me, because I've seen these guys on YouTube going around collecting their dollars and change and stuff. Change. And like, you know, it's for somebody in high school, it seems like such a good deal, like, or not deal, but like a good thing to do, you know, like if you can get it going.
Whatever thing you can hustle up to make passive income, quote unquote, right? And it made sense. So we did that. We struggled for a while there. We found a distributor for nuts and candy, you name it, like the whole 9 yards. Like we read business books and we're like, all right, we're going to create a business. It's amazing. Well, eventually his dad finally sat us down, and we were really close. I actually stayed with his parents for a stretch of time when I was younger at that time. But and he said, you know, he goes, I like your ambition and what you're doing. He goes, and I won't cuss for the podcast, but for lack of better terms, you need to quit messing around. Change nickels and dimes and go make some real money. So one of my best friends who I got started with, his cousin owned an insurance agency, actually out of California. So she was a niche focused contractors. That's all they did. So we flew down, talked to them. At the time I was in school to be a chef. So I was in culinary school.
Which one?
It's here in Spokane. It's a community college deal. So nothing prestigious. I'm not back in New York and gonna go make it.
Gotcha.
And then I quickly realized that's not what I love cooking. You know, I love food and all that kind of stuff, obviously, but not what I wanted to do for a living. So he flew down, kind of kicked it off. We met, and he originally got licensed before I did, started in his basement, and I'll kind of get into the story of our progression through that. But needless to say, I went, he told me, hey, check this out. I looked at it. We flew down. We didn't start it from scratch. Technically, we used her appointments and paid her. And then Satellite opened an office up here in Spokane. So, and back in the day, contractors was what she did. So naturally, that's what we did, was only contractors at the time. And we would get on the state board, pull up counties, make a list, sort the list by A to Z, look at expiration dates, create an Excel sheet, get on the phones for the next 2 years of our life, cold calling people. Like, that's all we did. Wolf of Wall Street.
How did it go? How did it go?
I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I think a pivotal point for that, being 21, keep in mind, probably my third week in after being licensed and legit ready to go, I landed my first account out of the Tri-Cities, actually. And they're an electrical company. And I think, I can't remember the premium, but I want to say I made, let's just say, $2,500. You know, it wasn't a big account at all. But to a 21-year-old that struggled and worked and did vending machines, I was like, oh, this is the greatest day of my life.
Dude, so many people, that is like that's their monthly income, their monthly salary, you know? And you did it with one sale, right? Yeah. And that's renewal. If you can keep that, it's incredible. Insurance is incredible.
They were with me for a very long time, actually, until I changed companies and some other stuff. And, you know, I'm so, lucky, and it's not luck because I got to where I'm at with skill and doing it. And I was very good on the phone. I was 21. I had no fear, you know. I'm just gonna call you and try to earn your business.
Right.
It's amazing, and I knew no better. So that kind of propelled me on. And then after you start building those accounts, a couple of years in, the residual factor kicked in, and then the light bulb clicked, and I'm like, oh, that's how that works. You don't make money on the first year. You make money on years 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now I understand. And then by the time you get, past 2 years in insurance, you're stuck. So here I am. So, and then to get to where I'm at now, I met probably one of my most favorite people in the industry. And I'll mention her name, Molly Smith. A lot of people know her. She's with
Safeco. Yeah.
She was an owner or a partner of the firm I'm at now. We went and had lunch. She basically tried to hire me on the spot. I'm like playing the whole game. Okay, let me think about it.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, though, it was a natural progression. So I looked at this agency. Keep in mind, I was on my own with my best friend. He actually left, went brokerage side. So now I'm on my own.
Okay.
I looked at them. They had partners with 20 plus years experience. They had all the appointments that I'd want. They did they did it all in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great. What more do I want? So I jumped in, became a producer, kind of like actually a hybrid account manager at the time, which was really good because it gave me a ground level perspective on servicing, sales, everything all the way up. I was always very intrigued by the business operations side. So I'd be in her office picking her brain about everything, know, the P&L, but like you name it, profit sharing, all the stuff that, you'd be curious about naturally becoming an owner. And that was my intent. I made it very clear. Yeah, I want to buy you out and be a partner. That's my goal. So fast forward a couple of years, she approached me and said, "Hey, you ready to buy me out?" I said, "Oh yeah,
nice.
when?" Well, like,
heck yeah,
like now. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So the rest is history.
Nice.
I'm essentially the perpetuation plan for the agency. I've got 3 other partners that range from, 50s to mid 60s. So we've grown. We've probably doubled in size since 2010 is when I came on. Not to say it was me, but just since then, naturally, we've doubled in size. We are up to about 20 staff total, including the partners there, which consist of, 6 client account managers. We're actually going to be interviewing and hiring an additional one. We've got a receptionist, full-time marketing. We've got accounting, just some other miscellaneous staff. We utilize work study quite a bit. So the college paid program where you get paid half to hire work study. We got 7 insurance agents as well. So
nice.
All based out of Spokane and working from home type deal.
Oh, that's cool. So are you working from home? Do you work from home?
No, I've got an office, but if you ask my partners, they'd say I'm pretty remote. It's kind of the joke, but no, I am here. And the beauty about having partners, I'm so fortunate in the aspect of that the operations run. I could be not here, gone doing what I'm good at, which is the relationship aspect. Prospecting, getting the sales team out, nurturing the large relationships. That's what I'm good at. So,
cool.
I can do all the function, the accounting. I can do everything else that goes along with it. But I'd rather put someone that's stronger in those positions to supplement me, and allow people to do what they shine at, basically.
Yeah. So your role at the agency is prospecting, managing sales team, and bigger accounts.
Yeah. Or a better word would be like squirrel hunter. Like you go to these events and you bring back a bunch of squirrels and then you release them and everyone's freaking out and like maybe one squirrel's a good idea. That's what I would say I'm the strongest at. Now, I do get involved with the staff relations and some training stuff. A lot of the technology things are at least introduced by me. I wouldn't say driven, obviously, because we're a partnership and we work on, a voting structure. We try to evaluate as best we can whether or not to implement this. What's the impact on the staff? What's our downtime? Is it going to be a good thing moving forward? And we would probably say we're a little bit on the more advanced side of the spectrum if you're just looking at the agencies as a whole. Now there's some that obviously are much better than I am, Chad Spade and Travis and those guys that do things that I would love to do, but we're just not there yet. So
I was going to say, it sounds like a real business. Whereas most insurance agencies are like,
it looks like a real business, at least.
Looks like a real business. Yeah. So you are on with me to specifically talk about a niche that you guys have and how did you start it? How's it set up? What are the pros and cons, the good, the bad, like the makeup? So let's get into that. So the niche is a subsidiary of your All Lines, and that's Valley Trucking, right?
Valley Trucking Insurance, or VTI. So, and that was born a couple years ago. So a good friend of mine, actually from the group IAOA, is actually where I met him down in Orlando, had approached me and kind of approached me then, but it got pushed out a year or so on purchasing a commercial book of business, specifically transportation, which is something throughout the years off and on I've done, haven't done. We have accounts, that type of deal. And so in making the decision to do it, it was kind of a progressive thought process of, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Right.
Where was the book located? Like, was it
in Yakima, actually?
Is it in Yakima?
But I mean, the clients are spread out. So he was in Yakima. There was a bulk through the middle of the state, obviously with the farming and the egg operations and things like that, that naturally saturated that book.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that was one thought. Okay, can we manage remotely? But how many clients are in the office? Not many. They're truckers. With technology, with video, with phone call, with building relationships, which we know we're in a relationship business, I felt we can make that happen. And, you know, I wasn't delusional to the fact that we're going to lose 30 to 35% of the clients. You know, I knew that going in. We maintain like a 90% retention naturally with our whole agency. So with buying a book, I knew, I'm like, okay, but I don't, one, buy a book in hopes to retain 100% of that or worry about that. I'm not going to focus on that. And then if we do lose a client, it's always been my mentality being sales oriented. You lose one, you write 5.
That's right.
That's how it's been. And I used it as think of it like a college education, right? You're going to get a deep dive into the trucking world, into the exposures they face, into what they've got. And then one of the things coming from a niche background and something that I promote all the agents to do in developing their own niche or what they want to get into is be involved in the associations, be involved in the Facebook groups, create a Facebook group if you have to, find the folks on LinkedIn, your centers of influence where they interact, whatever that be, you know, that can translate to anything.
Get in their world.
Get in their world. How do they talk? They're truckers, right?
Right. Yeah. We know how they talk.
We know how they talk. So, you know, it's a lot of that. And then just making sure you're active on the phones, making sure the processes get dialed in. So we spent the last couple of years honing in the process, honing in, you know, streamlined renewal processing, claims, how should the workflow go? What do having that bulk of renewals look like? Because a lot of it's brokerage market and application heavy. So, you know, are we set up correctly? There's a lot of Spanish speaking in there. So we've got, you know, bilingual on the staff now and things like that. So, but it's been really good. The marketing's been, you know, in development the last couple of years, and it's reacted and responded beautifully, just for the tactics and things that we've been doing and have done in the past too with other niches and industries. So it was no different here.
One thing that I'm really interested to hear is, so when somebody niches down in a particular you know, area, I mean, the idea behind that is not just that you have expertise for those people and know the coverages, but it's also that you probably have contracts that other agencies don't have because it's your focus. And so I know most insurance agencies, a trucker comes across their desks, it's like Progressive, you know, maybe Berkshire, maybe somebody else. And like, that's it, you know, like you got no other options. And so I'd be curious to hear with trucking specifically, what, like, I think you said you have appointments through brokerages.
So some, we've got directs, we've got some that other carriers don't have. Kind of the list of folks that you want that others don't get access to typically. Your Century, your Great West, Western National. So we've got.
Did you buy those? Did those come with the? No, they didn't.
They don't. And I don't have access to all those. So, and I'll kind of keep that for another time. But we do have access to some exclusive market on that. And then here in a bit, I can release it. But anyways, so for that, the thing I found quickly, which is a turnoff to a lot of folks, is you just mentioned Progressive's a big player. They own a lot of market share. You know, some of these companies that everybody has access to, Berkshire and all that, are real players, but there's really no exclusivity or protection on your book.
Right.
But what I also found out very quickly is everybody's a trucking agent, right? Especially if you have leads. You got a lead, everyone's a trucking agent. But they're not though. So I can't tell you how many times we get a client in, and we've got a sales process before we even start a quoting at all, which I can kind of go into if you wanted to. But we look at the account, we review it, we see where they're at, what they have, the coverages, you know, what's motivating this person. And it's apparent that a lot of agents don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of claims not covered, and maybe it's not even the agent. It could be the insured's responsibility as well. but there's a claim that should be covered. It's not because they neglected to add one coverage that was covered
Sure.
a month. So, you know, I think it's an underserved market, and I think the premiums are attractive to a lot of agents. Everyone gets progressive. Hey, I can quote a trucker, no problem.
That's right.
You know, I don't know what this means or this means, but you know, let's try to sell
Right.
it. So those are very underserved market, you know, clients there. We can take advantage of that, and not in a bad way, but those folks deserve to have the right coverage. Because if they have a bad claim, you know, you're out of pocket $100,000. I don't know how many businesses could sustain that, especially if it's an owner operator supporting a family driving a truck, or maybe they have one or two trucks. You know, that becomes an issue, and it's our job to protect them from going out of business, to making sure they're covered, to making sure they can keep their wheels moving. So there's a lot to it, you know, other than, hey, give me a quote. Okay, I'm going to give you these limits. I don't know what they mean. You know, here's that. But, you know, their price is $2,000 less because we're talking a little bit larger premiums. The trucker goes with it because they think in their mind, hey, I'm saving $2,000. So it's our job to educate them. And we sell through educating anyway. We really do more counseling approach and a partnered approach on, here's what we do, here's our position, here's the VTI difference, here's what you can expect moving through the first year, here's where we're going to get you. Our goal is to get you to this market, these coverages, this program. But in order to do that, we got to make sure everything's in line. Once you do that, though, you'll reap the benefits, the reward. You're going to get low premium, and the coverage is going to be far superior to anything you can get.
Nice. So VTI started with the purchase of that book?
The separate brand, yes. And actually, so there's a story to that. So you're going to ask why, you know, what made
Yeah. So let's go.
Well, part of it was I just wanted to have, you know, a cool trucking hat.
Yes.
And
I'm waiting for mine.
Yes, it wouldn't look cool. I know, that's the other story. So I was supposed to get Josh a hat, after IOA last year, I want to say. So it's been approaching a year.
I don't know if supposed to, but yeah, we had.
No,
I was expecting
I got it. I had your hat with a sticky note with the address sitting on my desk for I can't tell you how long.
Yeah.
And then I just, I'm a terrible friend, and I didn't. But I was holding out to come on the podcast because I knew, but then it didn't get to you in time, and here we are. So
we're hoping it shows up actually while we're recording this. I
actually paid expedited shipping to get it there by this, 10:30. And in my mind, I thought you were an hour ahead. So I'm like, perfect, dude. You'll get it. It'll be here.
We'll see. I'm waiting for that truck to pull up.
I will be disappointed. But anyway, the book of business I bought, their agency name was similar. They had Valley in the name and insurance, and it was something else. So in my mind, and we were kind of talking about it because he's a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, I think it'd be cool if you had a DBA, you'd set up your own brand. And this was part of the thought process during the whole thing. Something that sounds similar, so it might minimize what you lose, because they're going to think, hey, the name's the same, it's the same company, as opposed to a dramatic change from, Valley, what their name was to All Lines Insurance, which is nothing there. Totally. Also part of the process, at least for me, when I was thinking about it, is if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it better than everybody. And we're going to go all in on the niche. I know enough mentors, enough people. I've done insurance long enough to know what it takes to do the niche market. And what's more niche for trucking than Valley Trucking Insurance?
That's right.
I mean, the branding's strong. I can build that, and I can scale it everywhere as a Valley. People don't even think about it. This one specifically too, I thought about, I'm not going to be restricted to regional or my local demographic for clients. So we operate in 8 states currently, which is Washington, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Arizona. Let's see, what am I missing? Oregon, Texas, and Indiana. So, but we'll be slated next year. It might actually get delayed out a little bit, but there's 16 states on the progression on the next phase of rollout.
Wow.
So I'll be in 16 states.
How do you, well, first of all, the hat, dude, solid marketing. That is a trucker hat,
right?
Like, to the T. Love it.
Yes.
So how do you, I know with all the appointments that we hold, if I'm wanting to go into a new state, my reps are like, okay, but like how much business are you going to be writing? Does this make sense for us to do? You know? And so like, I figure you probably, if you're planning on doubling the states you're in, you probably got to have some sort of business plan or something that you're showing your reps like, hey, here's what we're going to do. Can you go with us?
Yeah. And so where we've excelled, kind of circling back around, the last 2 years we're building processes, streamlining everything, make sure we can handle the flow, make sure that it's coming in naturally where it's not too much of a headache, not double entry, things like that. All that's been dialed in. The processes have been dialed in. The marketing has been kind of working in the background with a combination of association involvement, email blast, cold calls, Facebook groups, being involved in those, Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, SEO. I actually created, so BTI was born, it's its own separate deal, its own DBA. I went and used my guy, Chris, over at Advisor Evolved. We got our own website that'll be on it. So now the negative to that, I've got 200 plus Google reviews on all lines.
Yes.
Not any on my trucking, because all of our system was built prior to for all lines. So everything naturally flowed you to leave Google reviews for all lines and all this other stuff. But it's easier for me to turn the switch, which is coming down the pipe here pretty quick. We just went through a migration going through, I should say, to Office 365, Teams, Skype, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so once that's done, Valley Trucking has its own number. It'll have its own 1-800 number, routing to its own division. We have valleytruckinginsurance.com for the emails. The server will then at that level be separated. So you'll have 365 with your all lines and your trucking. So effectively it'll be a separate division completely. And that's where it was going. It will go. That's where it's going to end up. So
cool.
It'll still be under the parent corporation though, for financials and everything else under all lines.
So what are you guys on right now? Do you use Office 365 right now?
No, we're on Microsoft, but we have like a 2007 server version.
Yeah.
Like we're back, and it's cut off, I think, this year. Like they no longer support it. We're dead in the water. So our option was, I think, to go to, what was it, 2017 or 15 Microsoft server version, but then that's dead in a couple years. We might as well just pull the Band-Aid off, go to 365, get all the perks of that. With that, we've kind of changed our phone system. We were on VoIP prior, but we had dedicated PRI lines. And with this, we're going to use the, it's business Skype, but I guess it's their Teams. It's within their system. And so we cut the cost of all of our PRI lines, which saves like, $400 a month, and it's not saving us money because we're actually going to spend more, but it helps absorb some of that cost. So, but your capability to work remote is much greater. You can work from your cell phone. You could use your phone from your webcam, your computer. You don't necessarily need a phone in the office to work. So my agents, I prefer not to be in the office working. I want them out prospecting, generating that. Because if you have more prospects coming in than you can handle, you're always going to have business to work. You don't ever struggle with trying to push bad business or being reliant upon what comes in the door. So our marketing works well for the trucking. We get, I would say, right around a couple hundred leads a month coming in the door for the trucking, but that can be turned up. We just haven't been able to turn it up because I'm not set up for the guys to handle it. So it's kind of been on hold. Yeah, it's been good, but it's been on hold until everyone's up to speed on, efficiency, training, their knowledge. I like to have a sales process that involves, and I learned this, I can't take credit for a lot of this, from some mentors I met through IAOA and some other sources, of like an initial disqualification conversation. So we try to disqualify them out the gate. Do you really want to work with us? We're not practice quoting. We don't lift a pen until we try to get the commitment. We know exactly what's going on with your account. I a lot of times direct them to the website, and it does it naturally too with the progression of clicking on ads. But I have a full application on there where they can attach all the necessary supporting docs, the whole application they can fill out, attach deck page, loss runs, you name it, vehicle schedules. It's all on there for them to do. And so until we get the bulk of that, case by case, if it's a new venture, obviously it's treated different. Referrals are handled a little bit different depending on where they come from, but just leads off the street. A lot of times we don't really lift a pen until we get everything we want and a commitment to move forward, because everybody does trucking, right? We've established they're getting quotes from everybody, from every carrier. They're all the same. And unless they really fit our market and target to fit within the program, then I'm just back to Progressive, Berkshire. There's a bunch of other carriers through brokerage that you gain access through, but everyone has those. So
right.
Then what separates us, I suppose, is us, the relationship aspect, us talking, the difference, the value-added services we add. Throughout the year, we've got we do quarterly reviews, safety compliance checks. We can do daily monitoring of they're out of service, all that kind of stuff. So like I said, when we were looking at doing VTI, we want to do it. We want to do it better than everyone. We want to be a real contender and a real player, and be a big one. So
are there things, oh yeah. But I mean, you guys are way, way further down the road to getting to where you want to be though than everyone else, Right. Are there things in trucking specifically that are kind of unique that affect people's rates? That is like, so like there's workers' comp stuff, like, in certain states, but like, are there like, what are the things that you guys are saying? Like, here's how we're going to bring this value. Here's what makes us unique. Like, what are some of those things?
Yeah. So there's like the perfect unicorn client, as with every niche, every, even home and auto, right? You've got the perfect client to the carrier. So you look at them, where are they at now? What are they doing? How's their business ran? How's their safety? How's their drivers doing? And so the beauty about trucking is you can see all that with a snapshot. So when you run a report, you can do some research on your own for free through Safer and kind of look at it, and you can get an idea what they do. But you can pay for like an in-depth report and analysis that'll do a deep dive on an account, and I can tell by the truck what's having issues, what trucks are having issues, what are coming out of service for brake lines, for things that aren't being maintained, what drivers aren't
interesting,
where are those problems at. And so we can help them if they have a problem driver they don't know about. We can help them get that corrected. They can either fire that guy, do a rehab with that guy, whatever they want to do. It's their business. But I just point it out and say, look, this is what's going to happen. He's affecting your rate because he's doing this. He's getting all these violation points, these infractions against you, right? Not necessarily tickets or claims, but they are infractions for the DOT, and that all affects rate. Insurance companies look at all that, factor it. Age of equipment's a factor. There's a bunch of stuff that you would go into and review with them. And also, what are their plans? They're business owners too, right? So I want to know what your plan is. Do you plan on growing? Okay, there's ways to do that. You can't just go buy 50 trucks. You can't. It would be like me being 21, not knowing what I'm doing, and buying a $10 million agency.
Right.
Yeah, I could probably figure it out, but there's going to be a lot of pain on the way. And fortunately for that, I just lose clients. Those guys, they can take lives. There's a lot of things that can happen. Driving a semi down the road. And I don't know, when you're on the freeway, you're driving, do you stay next to a semi? You're like,
no way, dude.
See?
So freaky.
Yeah. I got a Tesla that autopilots, and I step on it. I get past him. I'm not even trying to stay by him in that.
Absolutely. I don't understand people that mess with semis. I've seen so many like YouTube videos of people like brake checking a semi. Yeah, dude. I'm like, what?
Who? I mean, I suppose you remove warning labels and let them weed themselves out, but yeah, that's crazy. So that's kind of where that was born. There was a lot of thought that went into it. I used, the 12 years or going on 13 years of knowledge that I've gained. I do a lot of reading, a lot of management style books, podcasts, sales. I like, getting into the psychology, the marketing aspect. I love marketing. So a lot of the VTI, I actually kind of went out and learned how to do. How do I do Facebook? How do I do Instagram? How do I do the emails? What makes people click? Why do they click? All that kind of stuff that we see, a lot of folks teach. So I did a lot of research on all that, and I just kind of been putting it to use. And really, it just costs money. You're just
right.
That's what it is. But
when you say you market differently or separately for VTI as opposed to, well, I guess, let's ask this. So if you market differently, no, I'm going to go with okay. So, So often we hear about, everyone's like, the riches are in the niches and niche down, niche down, niche down. Totally makes sense. But you guys kind of did something that people don't talk about. And I think more people probably do this than what I'm going to say, but you guys kept all lines. You added a niche. So you have the general, do everything type agency. And then you also have the niche. When I think people think, oh, I should niche down. That means we don't do any of this other stuff. And it's like, that is a super, super scary thing to do, if you're only doing the one thing. If you have something that's been successful, that general agency, and then you add a niche like you did, that to me, man, is so smart. Like so smart. That relieves all your fears, the thing that's been bringing that you've had success with is going to stay and remain. And you're adding another thing, which will probably also be successful, but you're not risking just giving that up,
Right. I think a lot of that for somebody that was going to make a decision on should I niche down, right, and just focus on one thing, or should I try to expand it, will depend on where they want to go, what their goals are, maybe their staffing situation currently, what's their financial status. I think there's a lot of factors that you got to consider when doing that. I've got some ambitious goals. You look at the top 100 list on the PNC release annually. All those guys for the most part, aren't niche focused. They've got divisions. They've got benefits divisions. They've got large commercial divisions. They've got personal lines, small commercial. They've got verticals in all these areas because they've replicated and built and ran a business, which is what I'm trying to do. So now for the trucking, I think when you develop a niche, you can't just pick something and it's going to be mirrored throughout a lot of folks that say it. Don't just pick something because of money or commissions, or you think, hey, I'm going to get paid doing this.
Yeah.
You've got to be passionate about it. And if you go back, I've listened to a lot of your podcasts. You talk to Keith, right? And he avoids trucking and avoids contractors and avoids everything I've done for a reason, though, because most people don't realize they get into it. You've got agency bills. You've got to be bill collector. The service load that comes with it is very heavy. Your client load that you can manage now is skewed. It's changed up. If you've only been personal lines and you're used to them servicing 800 to 1,200 or however many clients you guys do, then those numbers don't transfer over. Like let's just say, 100 trucking clients, for example, could equate 1,000 personal lines clients to what you can manage as far as optimally. And, we use some back-end support, some outsourcing. We try to use automation. Our management systems, Hawksoft, we use Agency Revolution for our drip campaigns and ongoing stuff. Part of the website, at least on that side of the business for the all lines, is connected to all that. So I do use a lot of technology. I try to use as much automation as I can by learning from Chad Spade and Travis Gensler and those folks that know more than I do. I listen to Wes, So there's a lot of things I'm taking and adapting and trying to make it as easy and streamlined as possible. And so I think if they're in a position to do that, let's say everything aligned, or if you're small enough, you just started, let's say, and I use this analogy, especially when starting out, because I did it, is when you first start in insurance, you're a hunter-gatherer, right? You just go along, you're starving, you just eat whatever you find, bugs, nuts, berries, bark, I don't know, whatever you got to do to survive. And then as you kind of get more well-fed, a little more honed in on your hunting skills, now you can start going after some small animals, a little bit bigger game. Well, eventually you've honed it in. You're a great hunter. You're well-fed. You've got all the equipment now, and now you can go after what you want. I kind of equate it to that. So I think, if you're starting out, you're early, you haven't established what you want to do, but you got expertise in restaurants or even, let's say, shops or car lots or whatever. Why not go for that, man? If I started over and I could afford to do it and only do a niche, you could be so good at that niche, just dominate the market as long as you have the markets to support you and be better than everybody. And then you don't go to the doctor, especially if you have something wrong with your eye. You don't go to the family practitioner. Hey, doc, take a look. I might need surgery. Tell me what you thought. No, you don't. You go to the optometrist and they look at you and they assess it. That's what they went to school for. They're experts in the field. So, I think in order to play ball with the best of the best and get the accounts that everyone wants, you've got to be good at what you do. They're going to see through you not being good or not being able to support it or not having the staff to support it or the financial backing to, keep you going long term. So.
Yep. You said that you get, I mean, it sounds like you get a really good, solid amount of leads coming in. How are you marketing? Like where are those leads being driven from?
Oh, a combination of things, kind of what I mentioned previously. So association involvement, right? Get involved, be where they're at. Whatever you can do to volunteer within the committees, the membership committee, you name it, right? You want to be involved on every level. You can market through those because they give you the distribution list and they let you put, sponsor events, sponsor golf holes.
Oh yeah.
Go out and meet the people. I would say email lists that you compile from doing those events, hey, win this Yeti or whatever you do, however people collect all that stuff. So now you got the emails, you can drip market to those folks. You could drip market to your own database because no one loves you more than your own clients. Well, maybe, I guess it depends, but usually, the clients are your probably best resource for referrals of like kind of quality. So, Brent Kelly talks about the 80-20 rule. It's real, right? You focus on your best 20, whatever that means to you. And then that will grow that segment and just nurture those, take care of them, stop by, make sure you keep the relationship fresh there. SEO is a big one. I got to thank Chris and Jill for that. And Facebook marketing, Facebook group involvement, in those groups, there's a bunch of them in any industry, right? If you're involved, and I'm not there to solicit, I'm not going to pop in a group and, hey, here's a flyer, buy insurance. I don't operate that way. I never have. But when someone needs something, be there, add value.
Answer that question.
The expert. And you slowly establish that. Well, guess what? Next thing you know, one guy uses you, love it. Other guy uses you, they love you. Next thing you know, everyone's kind of tagging you, kind of like what Dave Jackson built with his little group. So similar type mentality there. That's a little more slow build, but it's very profitable. Centers of influence, folks that are involved in the that industry. So for us, it's going to be finance managers, folks that handle filings, just trailer sales, equipment sales, things like that. Anyone that's surrounding the industry that has involvement at whatever level that can send you business and refer you their friends, you want to make sure you're taking care of them and showing them that you handle. Referrals are gold, right? I mean, we handle them. We also send thank yous. We donate to charity. Every referral we get, a donation goes out to charity. So we've got some nonprofit charities of the quarter that we promote, feature, and highlight. We raise a lot of money for them. So having a referral program, I think, helps on that aspect. The Facebook and Instagram leads or the paid advertising along with your AdWords, SEO, and all that. So
wow, you're like going all angles. Huh. Right. Love it.
Well, Stromso says you got to market to 100% of the marketplace, right? 100% of the ways.
Yeah. So. If you want to reach 100% of the market, you got to use 100% of the ways. Is that what it says like that?
And I actually looked at, there is a fax marketing program that you can load all the fax numbers in blast fax. I don't know who uses them or whether they're virtual or not. I actually might try that though. So,
dude, it's so funny. I get every once in a while, like maybe once every 6 months, I'll get a fax from somebody I don't know. It's just like a 1-page flyer, like, whatever, health insurance or something. I'm like,
right.
Really? For real? Like,
did it work?
No, it didn't work. But, so I'll say this. So, in Arizona, there are so many stinking landscaping companies, right? And so, they will always come by and leave a card on your door or whatever. Like, so, I mean, we get like 2 or 3 a week, something like that, like a card. Or maybe we need to keep our yard a little nicer.
Yeah. What are they saying?
But like we've been through like 3 or 4 different landscaping people because they just haven't met our needs, and right. So almost every time I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. And like, I almost don't trust a recommendation if I ask like in a neighborhood group or whatever, because everyone's just pumping their brother or, whoever. Right. So like, the last 2 times have been like the next card that's on my door, that's who I'm giving a shot, and like, so it's same with that fax, right? Like if that fax comes in at the right time, the right person, you never know.
And it's also brand awareness. I think people look at our brand and they think established. They think they know what we're doing. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into all this, and it all plays a part. Whether or not they call you immediately, later, wherever they're at in that funnel, you want them there the whole time thinking of you to call you. Even doing the door knocking, we do that as well. So I know Troy is a big advocate, and I know you guys have talked to him about that. And so that works. You just happen to be there at the right time, the right mood. They caught you. There's some little bit of statistics backing some of that too. So like for our cold call days, one thing stuck out from Brandon Smith, from back in the ELP group, and him talking about being an ELP and all that. Hey, I call Thursdays power hour 4 to 5. People pick up the phone. It's a real thing, man. It really is. People pick up the phone and they're happy. And and cold calling is an art too. I think a lot of agencies hope to hire unskilled college kids for cheap to do their cold calling. Or they use these outsourced services, which is great. They set appointments. I'm sure they do, because mass sheer numbers, you're going to get appointments naturally. I don't care how bad you are. But when you put your skilled people on the phone that can actually close them on the phone and do it start to finish, it's another level of close that you can get involved with on the door knocking or the cold calling aspect. So that's where we do, I make our guys, kind of schedule out, and we do cold call sessions, days, whatever. So we've got some aggressive goals where we got to put a lot of premium on the books. That premium that we've got to put on the books is larger than, a lot of agencies that I know. So, we got some lofty goals to go after. So
do you, last question that I have for you is, do you segment sales and service? Do you have producers and service?
We do.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a newer progression in our agency. We, going back to kind of all lines days, right, for the last 10 years, mostly was predominantly sales, and then we would have some support staff, but probably not enough in theory to help support the books for the producers. Producers then serviced and sold at the same time. Agents came in and we started growing and adding staff and this and that. And what we were doing was we paid our service staff commission, and they got paid a salary to service and benefits. Like we pay health, 401k, PTO. Like we've got a very good benefits package to attract talent. And we found they love sales because they got paid commission. But then I felt like, as an organization, we felt like the service wasn't up to standard of what we wanted. How do we incentivize that to change? We've restructured their compensation program to more of a bonus program, teamwork-based, action-based, to service clients, retention, certain KPIs that they get bonused off of. Sales team sells. So new business comes in, it goes to the sales team. Line. Now our service staff still sell, because I think service, the service is sales YouTube video.
Service,
you know what I mean?
Selling.
So
we're selling it. Service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So put a clip up there. We're doing it. But so they are there to educate, counsel, talk to the client. Hey, do you know that we do life insurance? I don't see life insurance. Do you know that if we bundled your auto and your home, you would get a discount? I mean, all those things that a good agency does naturally anyway. We just want to be better at, deep dive into it, make sure our policies per client are adequate.
Oh,
is it?
Hold on.
Is it the last question?
Hold on.
Well, this is funny. If this is it, I'm going to love it. Oh, let's see.
Let's see.
How perfect is that? Yes.
This is not going to confetti bomb or something,
is it? Man, if I was smarter, I would have totally done that, because that would have been perfect timing. A first. That would have been a first on the blip.
Look.
Yeah.
Look what just came in. Dude, the timing on this. That's perfect.
Yes.
All right. Let's swap this out here.
Oh my God. Look how good that looks.
Look this. Dude, I like this.
You have a CDL?
I have, I don't have a CDL. Well, no, I don't, but I do have my Class B license.
Like a motorhome deal?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Man, this is totally, I've got to tell the story. Okay. So when, when my business partner and I started Blue Lion like 10 years ago, whenever it was, something like that, we started from scratch, and I had sold my Allstate agency back like to Allstate like 6 months prior, 8 months prior, something like that. And I wasn't working for that whole time. And so when we started, I was like basically broke, right? Like I had no money. I had blown through all of the, the money that I'd gotten from Allstate. And so when we started, I drove a Metro bus. I would get up. I had a brand new baby. Like she was literally like weeks old. And I would get up at like 3 a.m. and I would drive a bus from like 3:30 till 7:30. And then I would go to the office from like 8 till, 8 or something. And then I'd go home, see my little baby, and then see my wife and my son, and then, go to sleep, get up 3:30, do it all again. Like my life was nuts, dude. It was nuts. But so, yeah, I had to get my, I think it's Class B. I don't remember what it is anyway, to drive the bus.
Now you got a hat to go with
Now I got a hat, dude. This is comfy. Woo.
Oh, I'm so happy that worked out.
That's perfect, dude. So good timing. Well, let's end on that super amazing note. Great job.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. How can people find you?
The opportunity. So, I'm not like Keith Rocha, and I'm not going to give you my cell phone because that's a terrible idea. But you can message me on Facebook. I'm guessing a lot are in IAOA. Reach out through there, Instagram, but Facebook's going to be the best bet. So
nice. All right. Cameron Pechia.
Got it.
Spelled P-E-C-H-I-A.
Yes.
Pronounced Pechia.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The only person to ever get it right. First try.
Because we talked about it. Karen, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.